What if everything you've been taught about who you are is wrong? You've been told since childhood you're small, that you're limited, that your worth, your power, and your destiny are defined by forces outside of you. But what if the exact opposite is true? Long ago, there existed a teaching so radical, so threatening to the status quo, that it was erased from the history books. A teaching so profound it challenged the structures of power, not because it was dark or destructive, but because it was liberating. The Gnostics called it the divine spark, a fragment of infinite light buried deep within you, a key to awakening, to realization, and a direct link to the divine creator. But over time, this message was forgotten, hidden beneath layers of doctrine, fear, and distraction, so you'd never remember who you truly are. And this isn't just ancient history, it's happening right now, inside you. In this video, we'll uncover the lost Gnostic teaching they tried to erase, and why it holds the missing key to your spiritual sovereignty. We'll also explore why for centuries, ancient authorities considered the divine spark dangerous, and why remembering it could completely transform how you see reality and yourself. But be warned, once you hear this, you can't unhear it. Seeing the illusion is one thing, being handed the keys to escape it is another. The Gnostics taught that buried beneath the noise of this world lies a hidden memory deep within you, an inner knowing that is timeless and indestructible. And when you awaken to it, your perception of reality transforms. You are no longer the victim of forces outside your control. You become the divine architect of your own existence. And in that moment, you'll know you've reconnected with your divine spark. To understand why this teaching was erased, you have to travel back almost 2,000 years, back to a time when the ancient world stood at a crossroads, torn between faith and power, truth and influence. Hidden deep in the deserts of Egypt, a community of early mystics gathered. They called themselves Gnostic Eye, those who know. They weren't rebels, they weren't heretics, they were seekers like you. Seekers who knew there was more to this reality than what we've been told. Seekers searching for a direct connection to the divine, free from the limitations of dogma and hierarchy. The Gnostics taught something radically different from the rising orthodox beliefs of their time, something which was eventually received as a threat. They didn't claim salvation came from obeying authority, or from worshipping blindly, or from surrendering your power to intermediaries. Instead, they spoke of something within you, a hidden fragment of infinite light, which they described as your divine spark. According to their teachings, this spark was your birthright, a direct link to the one true source, beyond priests, beyond temples, beyond all earthly control. You didn't need permission to access it. You only needed to remember. But ancient authorities at the time viewed this knowledge as dangerous. They knew that once humanity remembers its own power, it cannot be controlled. And so, the Gnostics were quickly seen as a threat to the established order, one of which must be wiped out quickly. In 367 CE, a decree went out from Bishop Athanasius of Alexandria, ordering the destruction of suppressed writings, branding them a threat to the established order. Entire libraries were burned, teachers were hunted down, voices silenced. Yet the truth could not be truly buried. Buried in clay jars beneath the sands of Nag Hammadi, Egypt, a secret collection of scrolls survived, hidden for over 1,500 years, until their accidental discovery in 1945. Inside these fragile manuscripts were whispers of a forgotten truth, writings like the Gospel of Thomas, the Apocryphon of John, and the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, texts that described a cosmic struggle between forces of light and shadow, freedom and limitation. They revealed an idea that modern science is only just beginning to understand, that humanity lives inside a constructed illusion, maintained by archons, unseen forces within the material realm, thriving when we remain disconnected from our inner spark. The Gnostics believed that by awakening your inner divine light, you begin to see through the illusion. And the moment you see it, its power over you starts to break. This was the wisdom long forgotten, because if even a handful of people rediscovered who they truly are, the entire illusion would begin to dissolve, ushering in a new age of awakening. The scrolls may have been buried, but the truth always has a way of surviving. And just like your divine spark, it can never be truly extinguished. The fact that you're watching this video right now, listening to these words, shows that deep down, you already remember. The real question is, not whether this knowledge still exists, but what happens when you awaken it? Because when you do, your perception of reality transforms. So what exactly is the divine spark? The Gnostics taught that within every single human being exists a hidden fragment of the infinite, a seed of living light, a direct connection to the source of all creation. Not a symbol, not a metaphor, a reality, a truth that was forgotten for centuries. They believed that long before this physical world came into existence, before time itself, there was the pleroma, the boundless realm of pure eternal light. From this source emanated divine beings, expressions of the One, each carrying aspects of infinite consciousness. But somewhere along the spiral of creation, something fractured. According to Gnostic texts, one of these emanations, known as Sophia, reached beyond the intended boundaries of creation. From her yearning, an imperfect being was born, the Demiurge. This being, blind to the higher realms, fashioned the material universe, but without the fullness of divine knowledge. The Gnostics called him the ruler of this world, and his servants, the archons, unseen forces shaping the material realm, influencing both the outer world and the human mind. But here's where it gets profound. When the Demiurge shaped humanity, a spark of Sophia's divine essence became trapped within us. That spark is you. It's the part of you that remembers, the part that feels there's something more than this surface reality. The quiet knowing, that inner feeling that you are not who the world told you to be, that there is more. But the Gnostics warned that the archons thrive when we remain unaware of our inner light. They don't use chains and prisons, but distraction, division, and fear. A world of endless noise surrounds us, making it harder to pause long enough to hear the faint echo of your divine origin. And here's the paradox. The very thing no force can touch is your divine spark. Yes, it can be buried beneath layers of programming, trauma, and belief systems, but it can never be destroyed. The Gnostics taught that once you awaken to this spark, something begins to happen. You see through the illusion. You begin recognizing the patterns shaping this realm, woven deeply into the structure of this reality. This isn't just philosophy. Modern physics hints at similar truths. The observer affects the observed. Consciousness shapes matter. Reality is not fixed, it's malleable. You are the cause, not the effect. And when you remember that your essence is beyond this physical form, fear loses its grip, and the illusion begins to dissolve. This is why the Divine Spark teaching was considered threatening to established beliefs. Because once you stop identifying as a powerless being, adrift in reality like a fragile paper boat, carried by unseen currents at the mercy of tides you cannot yet perceive, you remember the truth. You're not here to be carried by the ocean. You were born to command the waters. And here's the part most people never realize. The Gnostics didn't see this knowledge as something you learn. They saw it as something you remember. It's not outside of you. It's within you, buried beneath conditioning, waiting to be awakened. But awakening is not automatic. It requires something more, a shift in perception, a turning inward, a willingness to question everything you've been told about who you are and why you're here. And once you start down that path, there's no going back. Prepare yourself as we dive deeper into forgotten practices that were designed to bypass the Archon's influence and reconnect you directly to the source. Because knowing the truth isn't enough, you have to embody it. The Gnostics believed that the divine spark wasn't something you discover, it's something you remember, a gift you have always possessed. And yet, remembering isn't easy in a world full of noise and distraction. The Archons, as the text described them, influence humanity most when we remain disconnected, because as long as you're focused on the outside noise, the endless striving, the fear, the distractions, you won't hear the quiet truth that's been calling you from within. So how did the Gnostics bypass the illusion? How did they truly awaken? They practiced something the Orthodox authorities feared more than anything: direct connection. Unlike rigid dogma and external hierarchies, the Gnostics turned inward. They believed you didn't need priests, temples, or intermediaries to reach the divine. You only needed to remember who you are. Through their secret teachings, they practiced inner stillness, entering deep states of silence to listen beyond the mind's chatter. Sacred visualization, imagining streams of light descending from the pleroma into the heart, reconnecting the spark to its source. Invocation, calling on Sophia, divine wisdom, to illuminate the forgotten pathways within consciousness. Dreamwork, decoding messages from the deeper mind, where memory of the spark still lives untouched. These weren't rituals of blind worship. They were technologies of awakening, helping seekers rise above the Archon's control by shifting awareness beyond their reach. And here's the part that shook the foundations of power. The Gnostics taught that salvation doesn't come from outside of you, not from dogma, not from fear, not from external intermediaries. It comes from gnosis, a Greek word meaning direct knowing, a lived, undeniable awareness of your origin beyond this material world. And once you know, you are no longer bound by limitation. This is why these teachings were erased, because a population that recognizes its own divinity rises above the patterns of fear and limitation. But here's where it gets even more unsettling. The Gnostics warned that the Archons aren't just external rulers. They operate through thought, through suggestion, through subtle currents of belief that suggest you're unworthy, you're limited, you're disconnected, and every time you accept those whispers, you give away a little more of your light. This is why the Divine Spark teaching matters now more than ever. Because in a world louder, faster, and more distracting than ever before, the greatest act of rebellion is to remember yourself. But awakening to your divine spark isn't just an idea. It's an experience and an ultimate knowing. When you sit in stillness and turn your awareness inward, you begin to sense something beyond the surface of thought. A subtle, unbroken current. A living presence that was always there waiting. The Gnostics called this the Song of the Spark, a silent remembering, a knowing older than time. And when you touch it, even for a moment, something inside you shifts. You start seeing patterns in your life you never noticed before. You sense meaning in the chaos, and you begin to realize that this reality, the one we take to be so solid, is not the whole story. This is the wisdom long hidden beneath centuries of silence. But buried seeds don't die. They wait patiently for the right moment to awaken. And that moment is now. As more light floods the planet, as more souls begin to realize there is more to them than they were ever taught, that seed begins to crack open, breaking through the surface. And just like those scrolls hidden beneath the sands of Nag Hammadi, this knowledge is rising once more, ready to be seen, ready to be remembered, ready to be claimed, because enough people are beginning to remember. And once you awaken your divine spark, the world will never look the same. Up until now, we've explored what the Gnostics knew. But knowledge alone isn't enough. The Gnostics understood something most of us have forgotten. Truth isn't something you learn. It's something you've always known. You just have to remember. Your divine spark doesn't awaken through debate, dogma, or endless seeking. It awakens through direct experience, the kind that bypasses the mind and speaks straight to your essence. So how do you begin? How do you touch the spark within you? It begins with stilling the noise. Find a quiet place. Close your eyes. Take a breath deep enough to feel your chest expand, your body soften, your awareness turned inward. Imagine for a moment that above you there's a vast ocean of golden light, the pleroma, the source of all creation. Now, picture a single thread of that light descending gently into your heart, meeting the spark that's been waiting there all along. Don't try to force anything, just notice. With each breath, see the light within grow brighter. With each exhale, feel the layers of distraction, fear, and limitation begin to dissolve. This isn't imagination, it's remembering. And as you sit in this stillness, something profound happens. You begin to sense the quiet pulse beneath thought, the subtle, timeless hum that was always there, hidden beneath the static of the world and your egoic mind. That presence, the silent witness, is who you really are. The Gnostics taught that this shift, this turning inward, reduces the influence of the archons, because the moment you stop fueling fear, confusion, and chaos, their influence begins to fade. You reclaim the energy that was always yours. This is why these teachings were forgotten and hidden for centuries, because a humanity that knows its power cannot be easily misled. But here's the most important thing. Awakening your divine spark isn't a one-time event. It's a practice of remembering, a daily choice to pause, to breathe, and to reconnect with the part of you that cannot be touched, owned, or controlled. Start small. Spend a few minutes each day in quiet stillness. Breathe deeply and bring your attention to the space behind your thoughts. Visualize the spark within, alive, radiant, untouchable. Over time, you'll notice subtle changes. A deeper calm, clearer intuition, divine guidance and protection. An unshakable sense that you are more than this material story. This is the beginning, the first step toward remembering what was hidden and reclaiming what has always been yours. If you want to go deeper into these forgotten teachings and explore the ancient practices the Gnostics used to awaken, I've put together a free ebook called Escaping the Illusion, a Gnostic Guide to Mastering Reality. Inside you'll discover the hidden Gnostic frameworks for rising above limitation, the deeper meaning of the divine spark, and simple, practical methods to reconnect with your inner light. You can download it free right now. The link's in the description. For centuries, this knowledge was hidden and forgotten. They burned the scrolls, silenced the teachers, and rewrote the story of who you are. But here you are now, listening to the words once lost to history. The Gnostics believed that awakening your divine spark doesn't make you special. It just reminds you that you've always been special. It's not about becoming more. It's about remembering what you've always been. You were never meant to be small. You were never meant to be powerless. You were never meant to forget. And yet, for most of humanity, the forgetting continues. The illusion still holds. The archons still thrive when we remain disconnected. But now, a growing number of seekers, like you, are beginning to remember. Because the moment you start to question, the cracks begin to form. And the moment you remember, the illusion begins to collapse. The divine spark inside you has been waiting, silently, patiently, for this very moment, for you to recognize that you are not just part of the story, you are co-creating it. And now, the choice is yours. Do you let the noise of this world drown out that quiet knowing? Or do you take the first step inward and remember? Because the truth is, once you glimpse beyond the veil, everything changes. The Gnostics risked everything to preserve this wisdom. And now, after centuries of silence, It has found its way to you, not by chance, but because you were meant to hear it. If this resonates with you, if you feel something stirring within, then you're not alone. Join us by subscribing to the Gnostic Eye as we continue deeper into the mysteries long forgotten. And don't forget to like and share your thoughts in the comments. I read them all. Because this journey isn't just about learning. It's about remembering who you really are